AI SEO, how do you rank positive content on AI search results for your business? How do you get it even to index you at all? I'm gonna break it down in the typical way, but in a much simpler way than anybody else has. I'm gonna tell you the 4 or 5 best practices that everyone is touting right now. And then I'm gonna tell you exactly how it works in a very simplistic way so that you can get started right now today. The reason why I'm the best person to tell you about this is because not only have I been an SEO specialist for the past 12 years, but I have been a reverse SEO specialist. What does that mean? What is this fancy term? Well, I work in an industry called online reputation management. So our firm for the past decade plus has helped people suppress negative content on Google. So the most important thing we had to do in all those years was get Google to trust the content, get Google to rank the content. And before AI ever existed, we had to say, how can I get content to get trusted as a page 1 piece of content, to index immediately, and to suppress and displace the rest of the content? That is reverse SEO. And because I've built the principles over a decade on suppressing negative content, getting brand new content to rise up on page 1 immediately, I know the toolkit, the weapon, the number one thing you can do in order to suppress content and get it to rank. So let's get into the meat of it. Best practices, what are people recommending? Well, it's not about keywords anymore. The first rule is about content depth. But I would argue that this was always the case. Before we even started publishing articles to the web and trying to rank them, probably for the past 5 or 6 years, we've been saying, don't just write articles, build pillar pages. So if you have a pet business, instead of just having an article about the best dog food, you would have the best dog food as a pillar page. And then on that same page, you would go deeper. So you'd have a hyperlink, which dogs eat which food, foods for dogs with allergies, the best pet food brands. And you would keep expanding that, create a 3,000, 5,000, maybe word pillar page. Beyond that pillar page, you would link to blog posts. And those blog posts, you would link out to separate blog posts internally on your site and externally as well. And that's how you create really deeply, richly sourced content. Now they're saying to do this for AI SEO as if it's a new thing. It's not a new thing. This was always the rule. So that's generally rule number 1, build deeper content, not just keyword content. The second thing is EEAT. This is experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. This is the framework Google's human search quality raters use to evaluate the credibility and quality of online content. These are the components. The first one's experience. It's the extent to which the content creator has firsthand or life experience with the topic. So if you can write about content in a very authoritative, unique, and expert way, you're more likely to rank. We're looking for experience, expertise, your knowledge, your authority, so your website's overall reputation within the industry, and then the trustworthiness. And what plays into the trustworthiness is the length, the pillar page, publishing to other content. So you see, a lot of these main frameworks are just repeating essentially the same thing. Build authoritative content, build deeper content, and then there's the technical thing. So the third thing is gonna be like FAQ schema, which is letting search engines know that this is an FAQ page, for example, and then in a human way responding to questions, okay? So what does Nadernejad Media Incorporated do? Nadernejad Media Incorporated does reputation management. And then we would go into our maybe WordPress plugin, we would open up Yoast, which is a keyword optimization tool, and then we would say this is an FAQ page, FAQ schema. But these are just the simple things. These are common sense because this has always been what we have done in SEO for the past 5 or 6 years, okay? Maybe even working up until a decade, this has been the status quo. So we can't just repeat this for AI because it's redundant. There are different things you can do to rank in AI, and here is how I would recommend it. So keep that as basic knowledge, it's good. But what I would recommend you do is even better. First, start with your own assets. I'm assuming you have a website. If you don't, build the website. I'm assuming you have socials. Here's what a lot of people don't tell you. The most commonly cited sources in AI search engines are oftentimes socials. We're talking about Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and even Reddit. So if you can gain authority and control on these websites, because they have some of the highest domain authority on the web, and you can make them consistently say the same thing, and then take those posts and publish them on your website, embed the Twitter post, embed the Reddit post, send backlinks, interconnect them so they get more search authority and signals in Google. You can start to meld the narrative around your brand. That's what a lot of people aren't telling you about AI SEO. The second thing you can do is off-site publications, because yes, if somebody asks something about your company and you have a great website with pillar pages, yes, it will be one of the first things, if not the first thing that is pulled in by Google. But if you own a larger corporation, if you own an enterprise where you don't control all of the conversations, and especially because Google, ChatGPT, Claude, they're all aware of the narrative out there and trying to pull in a balanced perspective, the number one thing you can do is use other tools. And here's what I recommend. Try press releases, okay? So there's a caveat to press releases. What is a press release? If your company is doing something newsworthy, positive, exciting, I want you to take that and publish a press release on that, because press releases bank off of over 500, generally 500 or more different platforms, okay? So what that means is, let's say your company just introduced a new product, okay? It's an educational product. You can write a press release saying, X company released educational product, and here's where you're gonna get a little crafty. To help people with XYZ, okay? Press releases have a rule. If I'm gonna submit something to EIN Presswire or AB Newswire, I can't submit something positive just for promotion. They will decline it. But if I submit something newsworthy, so something factual, X company came out with X product, they won't decline it because it's factual, it's newsworthy. Here's where I fit in my positive keywords at the end. X company came out with X product to help people with XYZ. You're fitting in just one extra component to help people with XYZ. And because you have done that, you are now signaling to Google that this is positive. So when somebody Googles, does this company help people? Is this company a positive company? Does this company do good things? It says, this company has been known for educating people in XYZ space. And it's pulling that in from the press release. So that's something they don't tell you when they just say deepen your website content, do this and do that. You need to leverage off-site platforms. Moreover, for your name, if you want to rank content for your name, if you Google me, for example, you'll see many positive things come up. I can search, who's Nadernejad? I can say, is Nadernejad trusted in SEO? Is Nadernejad well known? And all this content comes up authored by myself. Now, I'm not deepening content on my website or building pillar pages about myself. In fact, my website's very simple and it has a pretty low domain authority because my personal website I don't focus on like I do on the business website. But why is it pulling in that information? It's pulling in that information because I understand authoritative websites, and that's where the reverse SEO experience comes in. What I did was very unique. I went to IMDb, I bought IMDb Pro, which was a subscription. For these clients in the UK, a talent agency that we had worked with, I did an interview series for them. And so I issued myself credits for that. I issued myself podcast credits. I issued myself film credits for other client projects. That allowed me to add my image to IMDb. That allowed me to create my own biography that I wrote and added to IMDb. And I knew Google really, really trusts IMDb. Not as much as Wikipedia, but quite a lot. And anybody under the sun can get an IMDb. So that's something people don't consider for executives, but you can actually do and get indexed by AI. In order to really solidify the biography that I created in IMDb, I went over to Crunchbase and I built a Crunchbase. Crunchbase is mainly for investors. Do I invest? Very casually, but I'm not an angel investor, but I still built a Crunchbase. Now, IMDb with a Crunchbase, with the FAQ schema on my website, along with these off-site articles, so guest posting on other websites, paying other publishers to publish about my brand, and regular media appearances, even this YouTube channel, allow me to index not only very positive AI search results, but also a Google Knowledge panel. So you have to think about it as it's not just about deepening content, hiring a firm, building pillar pages, linking the pages. That stuff is all pretty boring. You have to actually think in a very creative fashion between, okay, what are some very authoritative and trustworthy websites, even if I'm thinking Forbes, even if I'm thinking IMDb, if I'm thinking Crunchbase, and how do I get myself, if not squeeze myself, onto those highly authoritative websites Now, this is all for optics, okay? What's beneficial about building out your website and building more robust pages and covering other topics and deepening those topics is that's where you get found and that's where the dollars lie. But if we're just looking about influencing sentiment, that doesn't come from pillar pages and FAQ schema. That comes from whole web ownership. And that, my friends, is what I want to tell you today. If you have any questions, I've been doing this for over a decade. My name's Nadernejad. Click the button in the description down below, and I'd be happy to meet with you. Thank you for watching.